Tensions in the South China Sea have escalated once again after a fresh and highly sensitive maritime confrontation emerged near Scarborough Shoal, one of the most contested strategic flashpoints in the region. The latest developments come at a time when large-scale military exercises involving the Philippines and its allies are underway, further increasing the already fragile security environment in these disputed waters. The situation has unfolded in an atmosphere of growing mistrust and overlapping military activity, where naval forces, Coast Guard vessels, and air patrols from multiple countries are operating in close proximity. Scarborough Shoal, a triangular chain of reefs and rocks located off the western coast of Luzon, remains at the center of a long-standing sovereignty dispute between China and the Philippines. While Manila asserts that the shoal lies within its exclusive economic zone, Beijing maintains its claim over nearly the entire South China Sea, including this strat, Geopolitical. In recent days, the area surrounding the shoal has seen heightened activity from Chinese maritime and air assets, including patrol vessels and surveillance aircraft conducting coordinated operations. These movements have been described by Chinese authorities as routine security patrols intended to safeguard territorial claims and maintain operational readiness in the region. However, the timing of these deployments, coinciding with joint military exercises conducted by the Philippines and its defense partners, has added a new layer of tension to an already volatile situation. At the same time, the Philippines has been actively engaged in expanded joint exercises with the United States and other allied nations under the framework of annual defense cooperation drills. These exercises include a wide range of operations such as amphibious landings, live fire drills, maritime defense simulations, and joint air-sea coordination missions designed to enhance interoperability and readiness in the event of regional contingencies. The scale of these exercises has grown significantly in recent years, reflecting deepening defense ties between Manila and Washington, as well as broader engagement with regional partners such as Japan and Australia. Military officials have emphasized that the drills are not directed at any single country, but are intended to strengthen collective security, improve humanitarian response capabilities, and ensure maritime stability in the Indo-Pacific. However, from Beijing's perspective, these exercises are seen through a very different lens. Chinese officials and state-aligned commentary have repeatedly criticized such military activities, arguing that they contribute to the militarization of the South China Sea and undermine regional peace. China has consistently expressed opposition to what it describes as external interference in disputes that it believes should be resolved directly between claimant states. Against this backdrop, Scarborough Shoal has once again emerged as a focal point of strategic friction. The shoal has been under Chinese de facto control since a prolonged maritime standoff more than a decade ago, when Philippine vessels withdrew after weeks of confrontation. Since then, China has maintained a persistent presence in the area through Coast Guard patrols and maritime enforcement activities, effectively limiting Philippine access to traditional fishing grounds. Despite this, the Philippines continues to assert its legal rights over the area, citing international rulings and geographical proximity. In 2016, an international tribunal issued a landmark decision stating that China's expansive maritime claims in the South China Sea had no legal basis under international law. While the ruling also affirmed certain traditional fishing rights for Filipino and Chinese fishermen, it did not resolve sovereignty over Scarborough Shoal itself, leaving the dispute politically and strategically unresolved. The resovereign and increase in military and Coast Guard activity around the shoal reflects a broader pattern of competitive signaling between the two sides. Chinese vessels have reportedly maintained close patrol patterns around the area, while Philippine maritime authorities have continued to assert presence through patrol missions and resupply or monitoring operations in nearby waters. At the same time, the involvement of allied naval forces in broader regional exercises has added to the complexity of the situation. Surveillance aircraft and naval groups participating in joint drills have been operating across multiple zones in the South China Sea, including areas not far from disputed features. This overlapping presence has increased the risk of miscalculation, particularly in zones where maritime boundaries are not clearly demarcated and where both sides regularly shadow each other's movements. Military analysts note that such environments are highly sensitive, as even routine maneuvers can be interpreted as provocative depending on the context. The close proximity of opposing naval assets raises the possibility of unintentional incidents, including near collisions or communication breakdowns, which could escalate rapidly in a crisis scenario. In parallel, China has reportedly increased its air and naval patrol tempo in the broader region during the same time frame as the exercises. These patrols include long-range aircraft deployments and coordinated naval formations operating in strategic corridors of the South China Sea. While Beijing describes these operations as defensive and routine, their visibility and timing send a strong strategic message aimed at reinforcing China's territorial claims and deterrence posture. The Philippines, meanwhile, continues to frame its military cooperation with allies as a necessary response to evolving security challenges in the maritime domain. Philippine defense officials have emphasized the importance of strengthening external partnerships, a preference in order to maintain deterrence and protect sovereign rights in its exclusive economic zone. This approach reflects a broader shift in Manila's defense strategy, which has increasingly focused on multilateral cooperation and enhanced interoperability with allied forces. The United States, which maintains a long-standing mutual defense treaty with the Philippines, has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting its ally in the face of regional pressure. Under this treaty framework, Washington has stated that any armed attack on Philippine forces, vessels, or aircraft in the South China Sea would trigger mutual defense obligations. This commitment remains a central pillar of the strategic balance in the region and significantly influences the calculations of all parties involved. Despite these assurances, the situation on the ground, or rather at sea, remains highly dynamic and unpredictable. Fishermen in nearby Philippine coastal provinces have reported disruptions to their traditional fishing activities due to increased maritime patrols and restricted access to certain waters. For many local communities, the geopolitical tensions translate into economic uncertainty and reduced access to livelihoods that depend heavily on stable sea conditions. At the strategic level, the ongoing standoff reflects a broader contest for influence in the Indo-Pacific region. China continues to assert its expansive maritime claims, backed by a growing naval and Coast Guard presence, while the United States and its allies are increasingly emphasizing freedom of navigation, operations, and collective defense arrangements. The Philippines finds itself at the geographic and strategic center of this evolving balance, navigating between asserting its sovereign rights and managing a powerful neighboring state. The continued militarization of the South China Sea raises concerns among regional observers who warn that the area has become one of the most dangerous maritime flashpoints in the world. The combination of overlapping territorial claims, increasing military presence, and frequent close encounters between rival forces creates an environment where even minor incidents could have significant consequences. Diplomatic efforts to reduce tensions have so far produced limited results. While dialogue channels remain open between China and the Philippines, as well as between major powers involved in the region, the underlying disputes remain unresolved. Each side continues to reinforce its position through a combination of diplomatic messaging, legal arguments, and military posturing. As the situation develops, Scarborough Shoal remains a symbolic and strategic focal point of the broader South China Sea dispute. Its significance extends beyond its physical size, representing broader questions of sovereignty, maritime rights, and regional influence. Control and access to this area carry implications not only for local fishermen and coastal communities, but also for the balance of power in one of the world's most critical maritime corridors. For now, both sides appear committed to maintaining their respective positions, even as military activity increases and the risk of miscalculation grows. The presence of allied forces in regional exercises, combined with persistent Chinese patrols, ensures that the waters around Scarborough Shoal will remain under close watch in the coming weeks. What remains uncertain is whether these competing demonstrations of strength will remain contained within the framework of strategic signaling or whether they could trigger an incident that escalates beyond control. In a region already marked by historical grievances and unresolved territorial claims, the margin for error is increasingly narrow. The South China Sea once again stands at a critical juncture where diplomacy, deterrence, and confrontation intersect in a delicate and potentially dangerous balance.